Все, полетели, полетели.
Принял.
Right, y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. Okay, so we're checking out some more combat footage out of Bakhmut. Now, I gotta say, this one is titled Reconnaissance Under Fire, and I was kind of drawn to this one specifically, because having spent some time in Reconnaissance, I know how tough of a sort of job set it is. But, of course, when you're considering the actual terrain that we've seen in Ukraine, it seems even more difficult, like pretty open terrain. And even when you're kind of in like a city, a lot of these cities have like damage and stuff. So it's kind of hard to maneuver around, especially unseen. So I'm not exactly sure what their reconnaissance missions are looking like. But this specific mission was recorded by the 93rd Mechanized Brigade. And this is from the Moto Life YouTube channel, which has some pretty solid coverage of the conflict so far. So, of course, I'll put the original video in the description if you guys want to go check out the main channel. But yeah, it looks pretty intense. Let's check it out. Jeez, yeah. That terrain looks freaking brutal.
Усіх вітаю, ви на каналі Мотолайф, тільки правдива та актуальна інформація під час війни з російським окупантом. В цьому відео я хочу, щоб ви занурились в реалії боїв у Бахмуті. Ми подивимось відео від Юри Глюка, перший стрілецький батальйон, коли вони у самому Бахмуті пішли у розвідку і їм...
It's got an interesting backdrop, like you see a lot of YouTubers vlogging, but their backdrop usually doesn't look like this. I don't know, maybe some ammo crates or some armament crates. Yeah, it's just kind of surreal. A little bit of a contrast to what we're used to seeing with like vlog style videos.
Потрібно було сфотографувати деякі об'єкти для того, щоб виконувати інші завдання. А зараз ще хочу
some Recon for some planning.
До всіх вас звернутися і відкрити великий збір. Збір того, що нам потрібно саме зараз під Бахмут. В цей збір хочу включити ще потрібна одна автівка для взводу Жеки Ворота, першого стрілецького батальйона, та їм ще потрібні тепловізори.
Dude, yeah, thermals are a game changer.
Коли там погибли побратими з першого стрілецького, там привалило все, що в них було, тепловізори, квадрокоптери, все привалило у підвалі, і у хлопців вже нічого немає, і потрібно все це докупити. То прошу всіх долучитися, я усі реквізити залишу в описі під відео, там буде картка Монобанка, Приватбанка, а для наших закордонних друзів буде PayPal.
Nice, okay. Yeah, it's nice to see these channels, like, you can see, like, they're out there, they're doing their thing, but they're also raising some money for the other guys out there doing their thing.
Юри Глюка, як вони ходили у розвідку у Бахмуті.
Давай, Ромчик, доставай телефон на всякий случай.
Jeez, look at that. Okay, so generally with reconnaissance, like, you try and use the terrain to your advantage. So you have, like, I mean, a little bit of a valley here, but not really, because you just have all these urban areas kind of surrounding everything. So it really makes you kind of nervous to move around, considering there could be some observation posts, potentially in any of these buildings. And there's already gunfire that's like pretty close to them.
Ooh, ебать.
The orange or something? Jeez. And this is what, like, two-man team?
Давай на высоту.
I don't know. I mean, two-man team for... Oh, dude. That's crazy. Again, like, yeah, generally with reconnaissance, you try and take, like, the low ground and stuff. This isn't really applicable because it's, like, so urban. But even if you were kind of drawn to that, you have, like, these positions like this, which are so hard to see, especially when you're in this defilade here. But that's crazy to think you could be maneuvering through this and just get, you know, fire from this trench. And yeah, that'd be a nasty ambush to be in.
Давай по траншее.
I'd be nervous for like someone leaving behind some trap or something. I don't know. I don't think we've seen that so much, but.
Переступай. Болванка.
Dummy, what was that? It's got some great observation too. Okay, so 3-man team. Yeah, for a reconnaissance team, it really depends. Like if you're actually moving in a formation, generally like we had a reconnaissance platoon, which is roughly like 14 individuals. And within that, you'd have like a couple of recon teams and then also like some sniper teams as well. And you would kind of have slightly different missions, but you're all kind of capable of doing the reconnaissance. But moving out in a 3-person team could be fine depending on how far you're actually moving from the like headquarters, I guess, like the hide sites where the rest of the platoon would be. But yeah, you'd really only send like 2 or 3 guys if they're just moving kind of short distance for an observation post. With this, it's kind of hard to have any sort of support. And you know, for any sort of element that you come across, you're probably going to have to avoid them. You're going to want to avoid them as much as possible, you know, in general with reconnaissance. But with these guys, like they're really not going to have too much of a fight, even if they do take contact. That's some good intel right there, trying to get like a idea of the terrain, potential positions. Even like the trench they're in could give them a better idea of what the trenches might look like in the area.
Не, наверное, обойдем.
Or where they might put those trenches.
Нет, тут с этой стороны проедет, надо стой посмотреть, что там творится.
Yeah, and you kind of want to just be like, yeah, I think this is good enough, but yeah, depending on what they're actually planning, you'd need to get like a better sort of all-encompassing view of kind of the operating environment. Jeez, look at that, all those freaking cinder blocks blown out.
Братан, это просто леска какая-то, мы на такие, блядь, частенько, блядь, натал.
Sorry, I'm not trying to pause it so much. He has an Akatsuki.
Мы на такие, блядь, частенько, блядь,
Good taste.
Сейчас. Вот так нам туда.
You just gotta wonder like what's happened in this area to make it look like this. I mean, we see some footage, but it'd be wild to see like the footage of this stuff happening and then these guys coming after the fact.
Давайте. Да, блядь, я ныряю в подвал быстрее.
Dude. Something, it looks like some bullets just ripped through that too.
Это с этой стороны такой подвал, блядь, туннель.
You got those like kind of more high-rise buildings too.
Надо. Сбегать, сфоткать.
Gnarly, dude. Oh yeah, is that a Gara patch too? No, I'm not sure.
На ту сторону. Там внутрь спускаться, а потом оттуда подниматься, это вау.
Naruto fan, though.
Я, братан, не думаю, что внутри там что-то есть. Че? Полетели?
Damn, they look beat.
Давайте нахуй надышимся, ебать. Ща. Да. Сука, ебать этот движ. Я, блядь, если бы знал, нахуй оно надо было бы.
You can tell they're
пизда, пиздюсенько.
You can kind of tell they're like a pretty close team, or maybe they've worked with each other enough to, you know, where you have one dude who's kind of like taking charge, like the guy that we're seeing here wearing the GoPro, but the other guys are like okay enough to be like, yeah, maybe we should rest for a little bit because, you know, we've probably been moving for a little bit. Depending if you have like a team that hasn't been working together so much, they might not feel as comfortable kind of recommending that. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool they can kind of be honest with each other because you can kind of see it on their faces. They're feeling it. Oh, this is a sketchy area too, where if they started taking fire,
Надо перебежать туда, лечь,
they'd have to run around the corner
и
or
бежать
something.
обратно. А там пидоры?
Да нет, далеко еще.
Пидоры или далеко до них?
Very open and like linear danger area.
У нас, блядь, еще мина увидеть, чем, блядь.
Братан, надо бежать.
Давай я достану сразу телефон.
Давай. Будем передвигаться просто быстро очень.
Moving fast over that is not easy though. It's always going to be awkward.
А ты стой здесь. Я сфоткаю, тебе покажу. Вот сюда стань. Вот сюда, вот сюда. Иди сюда, иди сюда. Вот здесь за угол стань.
Yeah, good call.
Подбегаем к синей будке, ложимся и фотоем, да?
Let's see, he has like two sides of cover.
Сейчас приход будет.
Давай близко будем.
Yeah, it's probably like a couple
Ну
of
конечно, там
clicks
что
away.
самолет.
Still pretty close for comfort, you know. Geez, recon in this conflict must not be easy. There's not a whole lot of support you're gonna get if you do get into trouble. Jeez, that thing's torn to shreds.
Фоткай, фоткай.
Может, видео сразу?
Давай видео, я видео снимал.
Yeah, this, imagine like if you didn't have recon and you're moving into terrain like this, there'd be so many unknowns for you to be trying to consider as
И
like a
возле туннеля
leader.
часть.
And of course you'd want to take like, yeah, let's move through the tunnel,
А сам
or,
туннель попробуй.
I don't know, maybe move building to building,
Всё,
but
полетели,
it's still
полетели.
nice to know where you might take fire from. Those buildings specifically, the more high-rise ones, would kind of concern me. Oh, damn.
Это крупняк, братан.
Yeah, that was kind of close.
Он что, Панаму ебал?
So it sounds like he's talking to his, maybe like his headquarters element. I don't know. They must be pretty close if he's getting them on comms. Yeah, as someone who has like an infantry background and also like a CQB background myself, this is just a nightmare for both.
Это кассетки, не наступать на них.
Oh snap! They got like those little green cluster bombs, I think.
А давай. Да давай, траншею нырнем, отдышимся.
Dude, that's crazy. He just started seeing those when he was running. You get so desensitized to the danger around like every corner. Are they gonna set up here? So sometimes what would happen with reconnaissance is you would go in and kind of do your reconnaissance, send it up to whoever, and then they can use that for last minute planning. And then you would kind of stay there and you can do like a forward passage of lines. So as they're coming up, you can kind of let them know, hey, real quick, you might have seen this intelligence before, or you might not have. This is your first time. This is what you should be concerned about. And you also kind of stay there to provide security and provide any updates via communications if there are any potential, enemy in sight.
Да садись.
It's a pretty cool magazine.
Да, тут скоро будет линия обороны.
Ой, божарка.
It's hot.
Есть, есть.
Ага.
Справа, не сложно.
Сейчас увидим, покажем, видос увидишь. Покажи ему.
Just the freaking intense breathing the entire time. Must be hard to freaking relax in a recon job like this. Especially with all this like indirect fire happening in the background and stuff.
А есть, нихуя там такого нема. Ну типа все как было, так и есть. Наши сбоку объезжают, когда сюда едут с той стороны туннеля, объезжают справа эту яму.
Again, like it's cool to be able to have like a UAV or a drone to be able to go up and kind of give you an idea, but actually being on the ground, again, you get a better feel for the terrain, which is pretty important because it lets you know how you can move, how fast you can move, if you're on foot, if you have vehicles, where the vehicles can actually go, if the ground's stable or not. So kind of other things you wouldn't really be able to feel or get a good idea of with a drone.
А тут по газону.
wonder who did this trench. He's saying that they're making a line of defense, but they're not there yet.
Я, наверное, вообще в одной фриске буду ходить. Ебалась на в рот.
Oh, he's saying it's literally hideout. Okay.
Ты просто в штанах. А я еще и по штаниках.
Oh my gosh. Sweatpants on underneath that? Yeah, with Recon, you want to wear like minimal layers to the point where like when you start, before you start movements, you're like kind of cold, almost like shivering cold. Because once you start moving, and especially if you're carrying weight, like you'll warm up pretty freaking quick. And it's detrimental if you're wearing a lot of layers beforehand.
ТНТ, якщо є можливість, наваліть туди, блядь, з пулеметів, нахуй.
Да есть у них можливість, сука, только там талиб, нахуй.
Нахуй он, блядь, контракт подписал, долбоёб.
Один працює з кулеметом, якщо є з РПГ, їдуть туди з РПГ.
Jeez.
З 4-го поверху того, блядь, здання, понял, то що на углу стоїть.
Those comms are coming in so clear. I really wonder how close they are. Unless he's got like a really heavy like HF kind of radio setup or something.
Потихонечку пошли.
Do you have a thermal optic?
Слышь, ну да это не, это крупняк, братан. Это выстрел с крупняка.
What was that?
Да оттуда, откуда-то стоит. Блядь, пацаны.
That didn't sound like anything I'm used to working around.
Сука, как тут залезть? А ну, давай. Поставь колено.
Damn, it's that deep. It's hard to tell with a GoPro.
Давай, давай руку.
Прийняв.
Держи.
Imagine not having boots in this terrain too. Wearing sneakers, get like a nail, piece of glass on your foot, twist your ankle just stepping on a brick weird.
На зв'язку.
Really shows the importance of footwear.
Крупнячочек.
Прийняв тебе, прийняв.
Especially for Recon, especially in this terrain where it could get pretty wet kind of quick, pretty muddy. And you just don't want a bunch of blisters on your feet. That's never fun for Recon. So I'm noticing he's not really doing a whole lot of... Yeah, make sure. He's not doing a whole lot of map checks, so... Either they did some really good like kind of map recon beforehand, or he's been in this terrain for a little bit. Dude, they're like, you can tell they've probably been working around for a while because of how smoked they are.
Побежали.
Oh. Wait, are they in this building? Is this like a patrol base? Okay, I hear vehicles. Or that was a generator or something, an AC unit. Dude, this terrain is so unreal. Imagine what this looked like 2 years ago. Oh yeah, look at that. A satellite or something? Oh. That make me nervous too, just kind of going in. Could have like a knock or something, I don't know. Okay.
Ну, ось у таких умовах хлопці працюють у Бахмуті. Це відео з затримкою. Ця територія вже не під нашим контролем, але буде скоро під нашим контролем. Але хлопці
cool to be able to have these videos to kind of
усі завдання,
document them and I guess use them for future planning as well.
Командування йде і на відкритій місцевості і робить все для того, щоб перемога була найшвидкою. Ще раз нагадую, що я відкрив великий збір на автівку для Жаки Ворота, тепловізори. То прошу долучитися і прийняти в цьому збору як намного швидше назбирати ці гроші.
Again, I'll put the original video in the description so you guys can go and check out the main channel, check out the original video description if you do want to, you know, kind of help out with the cause. But yeah, again, it's awesome to be able to kind of, it's nice to get the updates real time to kind of see what these guys are going through. But again, having this outlet to be able to kind of provide support for them is also, you know, pretty cool. It's pretty nice to be able to, you know, at least have that ability. A lot of Americans are either, you know, going to fight or, you know, sending stuff over, but this is also kind of another cool way to be able to support. Now, although this wasn't like necessarily like direct action, like these guys weren't actively engaging anybody, it allows us to really like still glean, you know, what the terrain looks like, how these guys have to do certain operations to be able to plan. And, you know, people think like you have these drones, you can, you know, find out whatever you want very easily, but there's still going to be recon teams. There still needs to be recon teams to be able to go out there and get like more actionable intelligence for, you know, specific movements, for specific defenses. And that's kind of what we're seeing here, which again, it's really interesting to be able to give us that kind of insight. And of course, everybody's going to be interested in that direct action stuff to see kind of what they're going against and, you know, how they're being successful in these, you know, engagements. But again, stuff like this is really kind of important for me to be able to see, to kind of get a better feel for what these other echelons are doing. Because you have people who are more focused on direct action. You have people who can kind of do both, but then you have like recon elements, kind of like what we're seeing here, that are doing stuff behind the scenes that might not necessarily make as much kind of like attention on social media, but it's very, very important kind of to aid in that success and aid in their future operations. So it's very, very important for me, again, kind of coming from a little bit of that recon background. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, especially if you guys have spent some time in recon. You probably know how important it is to be able to have those elements out there to get that actionable sort of intelligence and relay that to everybody else so they can use that and be a little bit more successful, or a lot more successful in certain circumstances. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the sort of video commentary. But yeah, definitely check out the original video and the original channel so you guys can go and support them as well, because there's a lot of interesting stuff on Moto Life's channel. But that's it for this video. I'll see y'all in the next one.